Hi everyone, I am Maruf Akinwale Oladejo from the Department of Educational Management, University of Lagos, Lagos, Nigeria. When I launched my YouTube channel, I did mention it that my channel will be focusing mainly on the field of educational management, which happens to be my own discipline. And therefore, this presentation is meant to introduce us to the concept of educational management. By the end of this lesson, this presentation, I am hopeful that you should be able to have acquired 80% proficiency in discussing the concept of management, the meaning, the perspectives, the definitions, and the functions of management. 80% proficiency in distinguishing between management and administration, differentiating between educational management and educational administration, describing the career prospects of an education manager, discussing the basic roles and the required skills in educational management, and finally, explaining the major task areas of the school administrators. By way of introduction, I want to begin by saying that an educational institution is usually composed of people that come together with a view to achieving predetermined common goal or goals. And of course, the successful attainment of such educational institutions' goals, however, may be difficult if there is no effective coordination of those people within the institution. We need to uh, be reminded that schools, colleges, and universities, they are usually large and complex institutions with masses of students, staff, services, and activities which need to be coordinated. This therefore presupposes that there is the need for management. Management whose duty is to get things done through other people within the school setup. This is because it is by the process of management that various school activities are being carried out successfully, leading to the attainment of the organizational goals. And this could be the reason why Mullins 1996 concluded that management is fundamental to the effective operation of any work organization. At this juncture, what does management mean? I want to take a look at the etymological origin, the etymological angle of the meaning of management. By etymological, I mean the origin, the source of the word management. Etymologically, therefore, the word management originates from the Latin word manus. What does manus mean? It means hand, hand. And this manus then evolves to become managerial rather, which means to handle, to control, or to direct respectively. So in other words, the origin of the word management is from Latin word manus, which means hand. But gradually, manus evolves to become managerial, which means to handle or to control or to direct. But the French word management, that is management, which later became management. I'm sorry if I could not pronounce it in a French dialect, but it is that French word management that influenced the development of the English word management in the 17th and 18th centuries. So the English word management, was coined perfectly from that French word. Now, in terms of the perspectives by which we can explain what management means, different perspectives have been identified in the literature. And I want to begin by taking each of these perspectives, how they have perceived management. The first one is science. Management has been perceived to be a science. In this regard, management is seen as a concept that has to do with the establishment of certain theories, laws, processes, principles, and practices that can be applied in several organizations, including schools. And of course, this is the basis of management, because management actually started from the scientific movement before being imported into the field of education. The other perspective is the perspective of management as an art. So those people that believe that management is an art opine that it is a creative and intuitive process. That is, management is a creative and intuitive process that requires skills, experience, and judgment. Not only that, it is an intuitive and creative process that also entails the ability to adapt and innovate in managing complex and dynamic situations. That is how those that perceive management as an art, has been able to describe the word management. The next perspective is that of profession. The perspective of management as what? As a profession. Management as a profession is perceived to be a distinct profession, something that is similar to medicine, law, or engineering, that emphasizes the need for specialized education, ethical standards, and of course, rigorous commitment to professional development. So, management has been perceived as a profession in this regard. The next one is management as an organization. The perception of people regarding the concept of management in terms of being regarded as an organization on its own. And therefore, management is described here as something that has to do with the establishment of formal structures and communication channels that will ensure coordination of activities, delegation of authority, and ensuring the alignment of, those activities with the overall organizational mission and objectives. The next perspective is perspective of management as a discipline. When I started this presentation, I said that my YouTube channel will be focusing mainly on the field of educational management, which is my discipline. So the implication here is that management is a field of study with various subjects and topics being offered in higher institutions of learning. Just like somebody like me that studied educational management. So it is a discipline on its own. It has various subjects, course contents, topics that are being offered in higher institutions of learning. Moving forward, and still on the perspectives of management. The next one is management as an entity. Management as an entity. Management as an entity is talking about a group of people, a group of individuals, that are occupying different positions of authority, especially within a formal organization. If we take university as an example, we have the vice chancellor, we have the deputy vice chancellors. It could be one, it could be two, it could be three. It depends on the organization. It depends on the university. For example, my own university, the University of Lagos, has 3 deputy vice chancellors. We have the registrar. We have the university librarian. All these are people that are in different positions. They are offices within the university, and they will be regarded as management, university management. If we are talking about expanded management, then we can talk of, bringing in directors of the various, directorates, be it quality assurance, be it academic planning, and so on and so forth. But what I'm saying here is that when we perceive management as an entity, we are talking about some people that are in different positions of authority within a formal organization. The next one is management as a social science. So management is not science alone. From the perspective of management as a social science, we see management as something that explores human behavior, social interactions, and organizational dynamics. In order to do what? In order to understand and improve upon managerial practices. We talk of organizational behavior. What are the individual behaviors within an organization that sum up the organizational behavior? How people interact within organization. That is the perspective of management as a social science. Then what about management as an activity? Management as an activity, that's another perspective. And when we see management as an activity, we are talking about that process of getting things done through the cooperative efforts of other people with the performance of certain functions we will talk about that, those functions in a couple of minutes. So, in this regard, management focuses on the day-to-day tasks, responsibilities, and behaviors involved in managing people, managing resources, and managing operations. Now, we have been able to explore the various perspectives by which we can view management. But what about the definitions? How have experts in the field of management, how have they defined the word management? Now, I need to quickly add this point that anytime we are talking about the definition of management, we always emphasize the perspective of management as an activity. The perspective of management as an activity. Remember, I said that management as an activity is a process of getting things done through the cooperative effort of other people, within that work organization. And of course, by performing certain functions. So what I'm saying here in essence is that management is a process. Management is a process. It is a process. And that is why virtually all definitions regarding the concept of management usually describe it as a process. See the definition of Cole, 1986. Cole, 1986, defined management as a process which enables an organization to achieve its objectives by planning, organizing, and controlling their resources, including gaining the commitment of their employees. And Gordon, Monday, Stapling, and Premature, 1990, also defined management as process of getting things done through the effort of other people. Oladejo and Igetu, 2004, opined that management is a process of achieving the organizational goals through the cooperative effort of people, other people in the organization, by performing such functions as planning, organizing, controlling, and coordinating. Now, the functions or elements of management. The functions or elements of management. Before I dwell on the functions or elements of management, I need to quickly say that this is an aspect in the field that has been described as controversial, or that is having a kind of controversies. But the father of modern management, Henry Fayol, was able to resolve this controversy by saying that whether we say functions or elements of management, they are the same thing. So functions of management are the same thing as elements of management. Henry Fayol, 1916, identified some elements or functions of management. And these functions are the same anywhere, anytime. And this reminds me of the fact that, management as a concept is a generic term. It is, management is management anywhere, anytime. I will talk about it by the time I start talking about, the concept of educational management. Now, Henry Fayol identified planning, organizing, coordinating, and so on and so forth as the functions or elements of management. Planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do it, when to do it, with what to do it, and which to do it. It is simply a process of deciding now what is to be done in future. Organizing is the process of establishing a deliberate structures of roles through the determination of the activities required to realize the organizational goals. Coordinating, according to Fayol, 1916, entails the harmonization and unification of all efforts and activities of the personnel in an organization towards the attainment of the organizational goals. The last two functions of elements of functions or elements of management, according to Fayol, are commanding, which refers to the act of giving out orders and instructions to people in the work organization. Then controlling, which implies the verification and guidance of all activities that take place in the organization with a view to ensuring that things work out in line with plans, instructions, and what? And the established principles. Those are the functions of management, according to Henry Fayol. The beauty of academic is that we usually like to build upon what has been in existence, maybe as a result of experience, as a result of, latest happenings. We can build on what founding fathers, so to say, might have done in a particular field. And that could have informed Luther Gulick and Lyndon Warwick in 1837 when they expanded, they built on the functions or elements of management that Henry Fayol identified. So in 1937, in their book, Notes on the Theory of Management, Gulick and Howick came up with POSCORP, P-O-S-D-O-R, C-O-R-B. That is an acronym for the functions of management. P for planning, O for organizing, S for staffing, D for directing, CO for coordinating, R for reporting, and B for budgeting. According to these scholars, planning is the process of working out in broad outline things that need to be done and the method for doing them so as to accomplish the purpose set for the organization. The second function or element is organizing, which is the establishment of the formal structure of authority through which work subdivisions are arranged, defined, and coordinated for a defined objective. Staffing as an element or function of management, according to Gulick and Howick, has to do with the whole personnel function of bringing in and training staff as well as maintaining favorable conditions of work, staff recruitment, staff placement, staff training, making provision for favorable conditions of work. All these are under staffing, and it is the function of management to do that. Directing, which is continuous task of making decisions and embodying them in specific and general orders and instructions, and serving as the leader of the establishment. Coordinating is an all-important duty of interrelating the various parts of the works in the organization. Within the university, there are different units, different faculties, different directorates. How do we coordinate all these various parts in the organization, in the university, to be able to achieve the goal of the university? That is where coordination comes in. The next one is reporting, which is the process of keeping those to whom the chief executive is responsible informed as regards to what is going on, as well as keeping himself and his subordinates informed. So the vice chancellor has to report maybe to the governing council, because governing council represents the government, and how he himself, will be informed by his subordinates. So that is reporting part of the function of management. And the next, and of course the last one, as far as these scholars are concerned, is budgeting, which refers to all that goes with the financial preparation of the organization in the form of fiscal planning, accounting, and control. I usually tell people that budgeting is also a planning concept on its own. And if we want to achieve the goal of organization, we must have a very good budget. Budget is a way of achieving the goal of organization. So these are the functions or the elements of management. Like I said, academic is beautiful. Beautiful in the sense that we can build upon what has been in existence. Gulick and Howick built on what Henry Fayol did in 1916. And in 2022, Oladejo also built on what Gulick and Howick did in 1937. And what is this? Oladejo 2022 added two more functions, two more elements of management. So post-scope now becomes post-cover, because Oladejo 2022 added evaluating and rewarding as other functions of management, and these functions were not captured by the previous scholars. What does evaluating mean? Evaluating entails the process of measuring and assessing the achievement of the organizational objectives, as well as the performance of the employees. Every year in any typical formal organization, we evaluate employees. We evaluate the attainment of the organizational objectives. There is this that we call annual performance evaluation report, APA. The head of department, the head of unit, we do this, for those in his department or in his own unit. Every year we do that. So evaluating By carrying out evaluation, it is also a function of management. The last one, which is the second one that Oladejo added, is rewarding, which is, appreciating outstanding employees so as to motivate such staff to rededicate themselves to the job, and also for those not rewarded to emulate their award-winning colleagues. I'm sure anytime we carry out, we have convocation. One of the activities usually line up is outstanding long merit award, something like that, which is an avenue of rewarding those employees that have distinguished themselves, that have performed creditably well. We can reward them by cash, by giving them cash, by giving them gifts, by giving them plaques. So these are the two more functions that have been added to post-com to make it post-COBA. Now, we have defined management. There is another concept that we usually use it along with management interchangeably, as if the two mean the same thing. What is that concept? That concept is the concept of administration. So, are we talking about management or administration? Because these two concepts are commonly used, like I said earlier on, interchangeably, as if they meant the same thing. Or perhaps, one could be substituted for another. But there are differences between the two of them. These differences are not, however, always strict, and they can vary depending on the context and on the organization involved. What I'm saying in essence here is that the two concepts, they are closely related, but there is a tiny world of difference between them. And the difference that we are talking about, not always a strict one, because it depends on the context, it depends on the organization. When I get to educational management and the aspects of educational management and educational administration, I will explain what I mean by, context. But let me quickly highlight a few of the definitions that have been put forward by scholars. The first one is the one given by Nwankwo, 1987. Late Professor John I. Nwankwo was the father of educational management in Nigeria. He was the first to get PhD in educational management. And he defined administration as the careful, systematic arrangement and use of resources, be it human and materials, situation and opportunities for the achievement of the specific objectives of a given organization. So when we arrange the resources within the organization, when we use these resources systematically, the situation within the organization, the various opportunities within the organization, when we arrange them systematically towards the achievement of these goals of an organization, we are talking about administration. Olagboye, 2004, also opined that administration is the process of getting people in an organization to achieve the aims of the organization through the efficient, that is, doing things right, use of available scarce human and material resources. Scarce, available scarce human and material resources, because these resources within an organization are not always enough. Oladejo and Ige in 2004 also opined that administration is a dynamic process of systematic arrangement of scarce organizational resources towards the realization of the organizational goals. These are the various ways by which uh, scholars have defined organization. But let me quickly add these two that I'm having here, according to Amadi Eric, 2008, who submitted that administration is a process of systematically arranging and coordinating the human and material resources available to any organization for the main purpose of achieving stipulated goals of that organization. Now, I brought Breach 1975 definition last because we are talking about whether management and administration are the same or not. If they are not, what do they mean individually? But when we take a look at the definition of Breach 1975, who said that administration is that part of management. Administration is that part of management which is concerned with the installation and carrying out of the procedures by which programs, plans, and targets are laid down and communicated. What I want to emphasize here is that Breach perceived administration as that part of management. The implication here is that administration is a subset of management. Administration is a subset of management. Management is wider than administration. But despite this, I still maintain that it is contextual. It is contextual, especially when we get to the difference between educational management or educational uh, administration. So far, so good. We have been able to be exposed to the concept of management, concept of administration, and some other issues that have to do with the concept of management. What then is educational management? What is educational management? Educational management as a field of study and practice was derived from management principles. Management principles that were first applied to industry and commerce, mainly in the United States. That is why I said that when we were examining the various perspectives of management, and of course I started with science, because management as a field of study originated from industry, from commerce, especially in the US. So the successful application of management to education just lends credence to the fact that management generally is management anywhere at any time. It is generic. Professor Longe of University of Ibadan always make this assertion Management is management anywhere and anytime. Management has been applied to estates. We have estate management. To hotel, we have hotel management. To business, we have business management. And of course, to education, and we have educational management. So all those functions that I had already treated with us are what we do in educational management, are what they do in estate management, hotel management, business management. They are the same. But how has educational management been defined? I want to cite the definition given by Pareto Model in 1999. Pareto Model 1999 defined educational management as the process that is concerned with the planning and formulation of educational policies or programs with a view to achieving educational goals. I repeat, educational management is the process that is concerned with the planning and formulation of educational policies and programs with a view to achieving educational. According to Oke and Odetokun 2003, educational management is the process of relating human resources, funds, facilities, equipment in the school with a view to achieving the specific goals of education. And what is the goal of education? Effective teaching and learning. That is how Oke and Odetokun defined management. Oladejo 2018 defined educational management, how Oke and Odetokun defined educational management. And Oladejo 2018 defined educational management as the process of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the activities of an institution by utilizing human and material resources so as to effectively and efficiently accomplish predetermined educational goals. Predetermined educational goals. These are some of the definitions that have been put forward by various scholars regarding the concept of educational management. I will quickly rush through the basic roles in educational management. What are the roles that we carry out in the field of educational management? Informational. When we say informational, this is the role that involves handling, sharing, and analyzing information. You know, within the field of educational management, there is educational planning, which depends largely on data. And of course, processed data become information. How do we now handle these pieces of information? How do we engage in information sharing? How do we analyze information towards the attainment of the educational goals? So there is this informational role in the field of educational management. There is decisional role. From the word decisional, we are talking about that role that has to do with decision-making process in the organization. Decision-making process in the organization. You know, generally there will be different kinds of alternatives, different routes through which we can achieve the goals of an organization. But how do we take informed decisions that would aid our attainment of the organizational goal? This is a role in educational management. The last one is interpersonal role. Interpersonal role, which entails coordination and interaction with employees within an organization. Educational managers should relate with different kinds of stakeholders. We interact, we coordinate within. So that role is very, very critical in educational management. Now, the skills. What are the skills that we need? If we want to become a successful education manager, successful school administrator, what are the skills that are required for us to succeed? The first one is interpersonal skill. And this is the skill that we use to communicate, to motivate, to mentor, and to delegate. How do we relate with people? How do we communicate with people? How do we motivate them? When it comes to delegation of authority, how do we do this? We need interpersonal skills. You want to delegate your subordinate to do something. There is usually uh, better ways of doing this instead of, arrogating that pride to oneself. So interpersonal skills, come into play. Then diagnostic skill, which entails the ability to visualize most appropriate response to a situation. We may find ourselves in an unpleasant situation. Maybe a parent comes around to the school, starts shouting, creating scene. You as an education manager, how will you, visualize, okay, what is the most appropriate response that I need to adopt in this type of situation? That is diagnostic skill. Very, very important. Leadership skills is also important. It is that skill that has to do with our ability to provide guidance to a specific group. We as education managers, we as school administrators, be it the vice chancellor, be it the provost, be it the rectors, be it the principal of secondary schools, be it the head teachers of primary school, we need effective leadership skill to be able to provide guidance to different individuals within the work organization. And of course, technical skill. Technical skill is talking about the skill that we need to become an expert in our field. Skills needed to become an expert. How do you promote your expertise in your particular functional area? That is where technical skill comes into play. It's also very, very important. There are other skills that just, dwell on these ones, when we lay our hands on other skills, we would definitely see other ones there. Now, I have defined educational management. I have cited different definitions that have been put forward. At this juncture, and as we have done for the concept of management and administration by trying to, distinguish between the two, I want to do the same thing with respect to educational management or educational administration. Is it educational management? Is it educational administration? Which one? Which one are we talking about? Which one is the more appropriate? Now, educational management has to do with the formulation of educational policies, plans, programs, while educational administration entails the carrying out, that is, the implementation of educational policies, plans, and programs. But don't forget, I said that even though there is a difference between the two, I mean management and administration, by implication, it means there is an automatic difference between educational management and educational administration. However, the difference, like I said, is not strict and it is contextual. But let me bring out how scholars had defined educational administration before I really, you know, emphasize that contextual that I meant. Unwako again, 1987, defined educational administration as the systematic arrangement of human and material resources and programs that are available for education and carefully using them systematically within defined guidelines or policies to achieve educational goals. Oke and Odetokun 2003 submitted that educational administration is the process of using methods, principles, policies, plans, and procedures necessary to achieve the objectives of education. Now, when I said the difference between educational management and educational administrator is contextual, I said that because educational administrators, or call them school administrators, they too are usually involved in policy and plan formulation, even though it is usually within the school or institutional level. Now, when we compare the vice chancellor, who is a typical school administrator, with ministry officials, we will refer to those in the ministry as education managers because they are the ones formulating policies, programs, plans, and hand them over to school administrators to go and implement. Within that context, the vice chancellor is an educational administrator. He is a school administrator. The people at the ministry are education managers. But when the vice chancellor now comes to his own university, that is another context. And the vice chancellor will now become manager because he will be involved in policy formulation, in program planning. So those below the vice chancellor, from let's say from the directors, from the deans, from the heads of departments, heads of units, come down to individual lecturers, individual administrative staff, then we will say these are the administrators. Because we are the ones that will now be implementing the policies, the programs, that have been worked on by the management. That is why I said that it is contextual. When the VC comes, the VC will become education manager. Those of us below the VC will become educational administrators because we are the one that will implement. And Campbell et al. 1973 described educational administration as the management of educational institutions designed to foster teaching and learning. If we examine this definition of educational administration by Campbell et al. 1973 as the management of educational institutions designed to foster teaching and learning, the implication is that the school administrators are managing educational institutions. The vice chancellor, who is a typical school administrator, call him school administrator, call him educational administrator, is managing university with a view to fostering teaching, learning, research, and what have you. So we could see from that definition that the difference is not strict. And that is why Oladejo 2017, submitted that individuals may have overlapping roles that combine elements of both, that is, elements of both management and administration. So the vice chancellor is a typical example of that individual. And therefore, the difference is what? Is contextual. It depends on the context in which we are describing. I hope we'll be able to, get the difference based on the explanation that have been given so far. Now, what are the areas that we can specialize in management? Three major areas that have been identified as areas that we can specialize are educational planning, educational administration, and economics of education, respectively. Now, we also have personnel management, otherwise known as human resource management, is another critical area. So, even though the three that have been identified have been mentioned, we still have other areas that we can specialize. And in the recent times, educational leadership and policy studies is fast becoming another vital area of specialization, especially at the master's and doctorate degree levels. In fact, some departments, whether in Nigeria or abroad, they use this name as their department. Nnamdi Azikiwe University, I think, uses a Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Department at the University of Malaya, Malaysia, where I was a visiting research fellow in 2013. That department is called Department of Educational Management, Leadership, and Planning. So what I'm saying in essence here is that there are different areas where we can specialize. In fact, at the University of Ibadan in Nigeria, there is institutional administration. There is management and information system as other areas where we can specialize. People might be asking, if I study educational management, Where lies my career prospect? Where can I work? So, there are career prospects in educational management, especially now that we are in the era of technology, where we need to strive to become tech savvy, to become digital individuals. A lot of career prospects abound in educational management. The first one is teacher. That is the first one, of course, because everyone in the faculty of education is expected to be a teacher. And of course, that is why we have to undergo teaching practice. So, anyone that studies educational management is a potential teacher. And that is why we usually have teaching subject area being combined with educational management. Somebody like me, I combined economics. So I read educational management with economics for my first degree. And when I went for teaching practice, I taught economics. The second career prospect is that anyone that studies educational management can become education administrator, oversee a school's daily activities, handle the budget, establish educational programming, manage teachers and staff, and of course, enforce disciplinary rules when necessary. I am not saying that those that are university vice chancellors, they read educational administration. I'm not saying that. For anybody that studies educational management is an automatic education administrator. Let me put it that way. Then community education officer. A community education officer organizes and promotes participation in local education or training opportunities. You can engage in literacy awareness, creating awareness, you know, engaging in community development, providing necessary orientation as an education officer. You can become education consultant. Education consultants use their experience in learning, teaching, assessment to develop the curriculum. They offer professional guidance, professional advice based on their own, experience. We have seen a lot of professors, even before they retire, they have been consulting. And when they retire, they pick up consulting job full time. They will be able to do this because, you know, of the experience they have gathered over the years. Well, of course, I'm not saying that those that didn't study educational management cannot become educational consultants, but as an education manager, somebody who studied educational management, there will always be a difference. There will always be a difference because we'll have exposed you to principles of management, you know, that can guide you in the discharge of your responsibilities. Private home tutors, these are the people that work with students to enhance their learning across different subjects and prepare them for different educational examinations. It could be internal or external. Some of our students, as a way of uh, getting means of assisting themselves, they engage in private home tutors. They charge parents. They go there 3 hours per week and they know what they are getting from there. The private sector, an education manager can work in private sector such as banking industry, insurance companies. They can be employed in their training school. Two of my colleagues that we both graduated together during undergraduate, they found themselves in the training schools in the banks. Their first place of work happens to be banks. And they did well, creditably well. So not only bank, you can find yourself in any other private, organizations. And when they place you in their training schools, you are good to go. School business. An education manager can establish his or her own private educational institutions at any level. You know, the policy of privatization has really helped in this regard. Even in Lagos State, Nigeria, before you can own a school, you must have education background. Of course, like I said, I'm not saying you must read educational management before you can establish or own a school. But if an education manager owns a school, you should expect difference between someone who did not read educational management. Coaching center businesses, which is similar to private home tutors, you can establish coaching centers where shadow education is being offered. Shadow education is that education that is offered to prepare individuals for exams. Those of us that are very familiar with environments of the University of Lagos, you notice that there are different coaching centers and they are making their money. Even these coaching centers, offer teaching for undergraduate students, just to equip them more, with the skills that they need. If you are able to establish a coaching center and you are thriving well, you won't bother yourself with a white collar job. Then you can become academic director, who is responsible for overseeing the development and implementation of educational programs and curriculum. You can become education policy analyst. Policy analysts usually analyze and evaluate education policies, laws, and regulations in order to assess their impact on educational systems. So all these areas are where we can, function as education managers. Dear listeners, I want to take us to the administrative task areas. The administrative task areas, that is, those school administrators, the vice chancellors of the universities, the rectors of polytechnics, the provost of colleges of education, the principals of secondary schools, the head teachers of primary schools. Where do they carry out their administrative tasks? The first one is pupils personnel management. Pupils personnel management. This involves the provision of guidance and counseling services, orientation programs, establishment of school policies regarding attendance, safety, and so on and so forth. At the beginning of every section, when we admit new students, it is our task as school administrators to provide orientation programs because the students are finding themselves in another new environment. How do we, guide them? such that they will be fitted in that new environment that they have found themselves. And those that are there, how do we continue to guide them? Medical facilities, giving them orientation about medical facilities, sporting activities, and so on and so forth. Exposing them to policies that guide their studentship. That is an administrative task for the school administrators. Staff personnel management, which has to do with the formulation of staff personnel policies in terms of recruitment, selection, and placement of staff personnel. Not only this, school administrators are expected to expose students, to create uh, uh, staff development programs, training, workshops, seminars. We expose them to all this so that they can offer their quality services towards the attainment of the organizational goals. The next one is school community relationship. School community relationship. Schools are located within a community. How would community benefit from the school? How would the school benefit from the community? This is a task area for the school administrators. And it has to do with the development and administration of policies and procedures for parents and community participation in school matters. Parents forum can come in here when community is organizing maybe annual week. They can engage staff as resource person, as guest speakers. Community can write school. Maybe they want to use their school bus, they want to use the school hall. School can also write community to assist. For example, if we are talking about secondary school, there are instances that community will hire teachers where there is lack of teacher in a particular, for a particular subject. This can be fostered when the school administrator, promotes effective relationship between the school and the community. Curriculum and instructional development is another administrative task areas. And this has to do with the formulation of curriculum content and organization, the provision of materials, resources, and equipment for instructional program. Whether we talk about core curriculum minimum academic standard that we will be working on in the next few months, or we are talking about syllabus being given to secondary school teachers, it is the duty, it is an administrative task for the school administrators to engage in curriculum and instructional development. What are the contents? How do we organize this? How do we make provision for the necessary materials and resources? It is the function, it is the task of the administrators. What about school finance and business management, which has to do with the preparation of the school budget, the provision of a system of internal accounting and auditing, the proper administration of school purchases and procurement. In fact, there are instances that institutions will engage in business, consultancy. So the management of school finances, the management of school businesses lies, in the hands of the school administrators. I am not saying that the school administrator is the one that will do all this. There are subordinates, but as the administrator, like vice chancellor, He is the chief accounting and the chief accounting and executive officer. The next one is school plant planning or provision and the maintenance of school facilities. In some literature, they call it provision and maintenance of school facilities. In some, they call it school plant planning. It is an administrative task area for the school administrator. And this has to do with the determination of the school plant needs, the development of an efficient program of operation, and the maintenance of the physical plants. Where do we locate this particular building? How do we maintain the building? How do we ensure the sustainability of various school plants? It is the task areas of the school administrator. The last one is general task. These administrative task areas involves the organizational and conduct of various school meetings, the handling of delicate interpersonal situations, the preparation of school reports for the local or district school boards, attending the headmasters or committee of vice chancellors meetings or principals meetings, and so on and so forth. In fact, playing host to visitors. All these are embedded under general task. In summary, and to conclude this presentation, so far so good, we have been able to examine the concept of management. We have been able to look at its etymological meaning, the definitions, elements and functions, as well as its application to the field of education. All these have been extensively examined in this presentation. We have been able to x-ray specialized areas in the field of educational management. We have been able to highlight career prospects that are open to an education manager. And of course, the major administrative task areas, which include pupil personnel, staff personnel, school community relationship, school finance and business management, and so on and so forth, were also brought to the fore. It is my hope that you have been really introduced to virtually everything that has to do with educational management. I want to enjoin you to please subscribe to this my channel, hit the notification bell, like this channel, pass your comments, raise questions, and I will try as much as possible to provide useful answers. Once again, I want you to please subscribe to this my channel, hit the notification bell. You know, hitting the notification bell will go a long way in creating access, notifying you anytime I drop quality videos, presentations like this. I thank you for your time, and I wish you happy listening to the presentation. Once again, I am Maruf Akinwale Oladejo from the Department of Educational Management, University of Lagos, Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you, and God bless you.